Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. B, your Creole Connection, on a very overcast evening. For just a few minutes, I wanted to get on here and talk about this little 7x7 Craftsman resin shed that I picked up from Lowe's and assembled. You can find a lot of videos on YouTube regarding the assembly of the shed, but I want to take a different slant. I want to talk more about the foundation and some of the advantages of having a concrete slab as your foundation rather than pavers or gravel or treated lumber. I'm sure all of those alternatives work to some degree pretty well, but I can tell you there are a couple of things you need to be aware of. Now, if you go with the concrete slab, the first issue is cost. Now, I picked up this shed for about $900. Add to that the cost of concrete. Now, it took a little less than a yard of concrete, and the cost of concrete came out to about $900. Now, that includes the forming, the pouring, and everything else associated with getting the slab to the state that it's in. So the slab basically doubled the cost of the shed, which is considerable because you can build a foundation for a whole lot less if you use treated lumber. I would think you can do it for a couple of $100s as opposed to $900. But I got to tell you, when I was assembling the shed, the first thing you put down is the resin floor, and I use anchor bolts to do that. But once the floor was in place and bolted down, my goodness, everything else just fitted together really well. I didn't experience any issues about fit. Everything fitted well because I started with a level, smooth, square surface. So when builders say that the foundation is everything, that is definitely not an exaggeration. Now, a lot of folks who have this unit complain that the doors don't open and close properly. And as you can see, there's just a slight difference between the left and right door at the top. I mean, it's maybe not even the fourth, well, like an eighth of an inch difference. But everything works smoothly. As you can see, I have no problem opening or closing the door. It operates very smooth. And then I have these pavers right here. If the door was off in it, it would rub against those, and they don't. So every wall panel and door are just a good fit because of the smooth concrete structure. So other than stability of the structure, why did I choose a concrete slab? Well, I live here in the deep south where the soil is very black and very crumbly, which means that it doesn't have very much of a clay content. So when it rains, the soil just settles and shifts. And if you have pavers, you might start out with a nice, square, smooth foundation, but over time it's going to shift. It's inevitable. And if the resin floor is attached to the pavers, it's going to buckle. It's just not going to remain level. And eventually the whole structure is going to tilt or just get out of square because it's all about the foundation and the floor, because all of the wall panels fit into the floor. So it's got to be square, it's got to be smooth, and it's got to be level. When it is, then the entire structure just comes together and comes together incredibly tightly. The other reason, in addition to shifting, the other reason why I chose concrete is because, well, frankly, we get visited by various kinds of pests like armadillos and gophers or snakes. They also take up residence. Yes, they certainly come and go, but they will not stay in your yard if you don't give them a protected environment. I mean, if they can get underneath the raised floor of the foundation or burrow under the treated lumber, you can have a whole community of critters under your floor and you never know it. I mean, eventually you will, but you would have to deal with moving parts of the floor to access the intruders. It would just be a problem trying to get rid of pesky creatures. So that's the other reason it's on a concrete slab. There's absolutely no chance of any kind of infestation to exist without me being able to take care of it easily. That was a significant factor because I've had to deal with that issue before. So again, everything just fits well because of the quality of the foundation. In addition to fit, I also think it's going to be a more stable structure in the long run. I think I made a pretty good decision with concrete. Now, that's not, again, to take away anything from people who have pavers or who use other materials. But I've always wondered how, if you anchor boats to pavers, I mean, each paver would have to be accommodate a different boat. And so, yeah, over time, during strong winds, the wind could easily lift up the pavers. And here we get strong winds routinely. Just the other day, we experienced a 35-mile-an-hour wind since this structure has been up, and it didn't have an issue at all. We've also had a light rain, but tomorrow we're supposed to get a heavy rain, so it's going to get a true test. I'll come back and let you know. I just want to show you one more thing, and that's the fact that inside the structure, there's no daylight where the ceiling meets the walls other than in a corner. And that's just the way the shed is constructed. Each corner has a little daylight coming in, and I'm going to take care of that with some expanding foam filler. I'm going to take care of that, but everything else worked real well. And these metal supports really do an outstanding job of stabilizing the structure. So while there's some flex to it, it's because the building is made of resin. You can see it moving a little, not much. There's a little flex here, but that again is because it's plastic. But so far, so good. And we will give it a good test during the coming months when these strong Louisiana winds, the relentless rain, and the scorching UV sunlight starts to attack it. Let's see how this thing looks in a year or so, God willing. All right, well, that's it. I just wanted to talk about the foundation and give you some idea of why I went the route that I went, and also the associated costs. Well, this is Dr. B, and we'll catch you in the next video.